Hi, welcome. It's Bragging Rights with Lisa Bragg, and I am Lisa Bragg. And joining me are two very special guests today. I have Sara Curleigh-Parsons and I have Lesley James, and they are part of a collective who authored this great book here, whoop, right there in the center. It's beautiful, and it's a compilation of a whole bunch of stories of people who have really gone on, and they're empowering stories that will really brighten up your day and also give you pause for reflection. So, Sara, there's two of you on the show today, so I'm going to let you do the heavy lifting of introducing yourself. And Bragging Rights is all about introducing yourself and talking about yourself in a way that people can say, "Oh, I know how to use Sara." Then, so tell us the highlights of Sara.
So the highlight is I've literally just come in from a live event here in Doha, and I'm based in Doha, just moved here, and a live event where I was meeting with other authors and talking about what's it like to be an author of a book, and it was so empowering and exciting, and actually you forget about the wisdom that you have and the journey you've been through until you start telling it, right? And I think that was just such a highlight for tonight. And people just kept asking me questions. I'm like, oh wow, I forgot. I've learned so much in this process, and so it's so exciting. So I teach leaders, support leaders, work with people to really be their best selves in businesses. A little bit more now here that I've moved to Doha, really expanding a little bit to think about how do I turn that into more work with the community as well. There's so much to be done here, but I'm a storyteller and facilitator, and those two combined really work well. And working with leaders to get their story out, to tell the journey, to bring people along with them. That's one of the things that I'm really passionate about and have grown up with. Had a general for a father, so listen to him tell stories my whole life. General for a father, hippie for a mother. She hates it when we say that, but it's so true. It's the nice balance. And Lesley's laughing because we grew up side by side, and we met when we were 8, and so she knows what I'm talking about in the dynamics of my family, which were wonderful. So.
I love that story that you are lifelong friends and that you came together to be part of this great book. I think that's just such a great journey. So Lesley, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've had a pivot and you're doing beautiful work now, helping people with that stage that we just don't talk about. So tell us about your journey and who you are.
Thank you, Lisa. First of all, I'm just so honored to be here on your Bragging Rights LinkedIn Live. And thank you, Sara. I wish I could give you a hug. You're all the way in Qatar, and I'm here near Toronto, Canada with Lisa. But I worked almost 30 years at a major corporation. And then grief hit, a grief of a different kind, of multiple different types of grief. But I lost 2 close friends, and that really, yes, I've had relatives, older relatives, die, but this made me sit up and think. My friend Michelle, she was 49, my tennis partner, and my friend Greg from high school. He was my soulmate, and he was 51. So nobody talked about it, and this was a calling, and I just kept Googling death and dying and grief and bereavement, and it's my vocation now, and it's my passion. It's not sexy, nobody wants to talk about end of life planning, but that's what I am. I'm an end of life educator. I'm a grief doula. And I'm now a published author in this book, Uncover Your Light, with Sara and 20 other co-authors who share their stories, amazing stories of, it could be relationships, confidence, health struggles. There is the underlying theme is grief, really. And so I'm drawn to this, and yes, but I'm not a morbid person. I can sit with people in their grief, and it can be hopefully uplifting.
Oh, and we'll unpack all of that during our time together today for sure. But what made you want to join and write a book where there's, it's a compilation of stories? Sara, what was it about this project that you wanted to take part in and share your stories? Because these are very personal stories. So what was it that made you want to do this?
So when I was going through my trauma, the thing that kept me going was A, my girlfriends, and B, humor, and amongst other things. But those are two of the big things, right? And when I was with, every time something would happen, I'd just say, I need to write a book. And my friends say, you need to write a book, And so it kind of became a bit of the mantra to deal with some of the things that was being thrown at me. And all of those things that actually I said you couldn't make it up and let's put it in the book, actually didn't make it into the book, right? But it's it was the idea that was my kind of mantra, that's how I dealt with it. And so when Lesley reached out to me and said, this is happening, and I've told Lisa that she needs to talk to you. Would you be willing to talk to her? I'm like, yes. And that's the thing, when you put it out there, and Lesley was part of that mantra that I got to write a book. It's got to go in the book. She's like, here's your chance. Are you going to shut up or put up kind of thing? She didn't say that to me. She's nice. But, it was, here's the opportunity to do something. And it became a very different book than the one I had laughed about in a really positive way. But that was the thing. It's like, that's what I want to do. And being part of co-authoring is a really nice step in. And you've got this instant support group, which is, and my own personal PA and Lesley, who's a lot more organized than me.
It's always great to do things in a group for sure. And I just want to offer out to the audience, I have these amazing guests on today. If you have any questions or comments for them, we'd love you to join in the conversation and ask Sara and Lesley anything about even being a co-author, about their different fields that they're in, or asking anything about shining your light, because that's really, Uncovering Your Light is the name of their book, but it's really, how do we have stories of hope and resilience? And like Sara said, the one story you think you're going to tell changes along the way as you go through your drafts of what you really want to say to people and what you really think will have the impact. And it takes sometimes quite a few drafts to get there, doesn't it?
As you know, you're writing your book.
As I know, as I'm writing my book. Lesley, did you know right away, this is the story I'm going to tell, that's it, I'm all the way there? Did you have to struggle with the story that you wanted to tell, or were you already had conviction with it?
Great question, Lisa. And I will say that the year prior, I wrote a chapter in another book, and that was really from heart, bold spirit, caring for the dying. And I wrote a chapter about caring for my friend, helping his family. But so I had just put that kind of bit behind. I was sitting on the couch, and there's another Lisa, the lead author, Lisa Pinnock, who is also another really close longtime friend from, I was born in Jamaica. So we grew up, it's unbelievable. I took piano lessons from her mom. My kids took piano lessons from her. She sang at my wedding. Anyway, we have a long history. I was just sitting on the couch, and she says, anybody want to write a chapter in a book called Uncover Your Light? And I literally reached out to her. And so we had a conversation, and I live with a rare autoimmune disease called Addison's disease. I was diagnosed in May of 2000, some dates you never forget. And I said, this medical condition, this chronic illness, this invisible illness has impacted me on so many different levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, socially, holistically, and I need to share my story. It's time. It's 22, I think it was 21, 22 years. And, I may not, I kept saying, friends, people who know me, well, you don't look sick. And so I purposely, everything I do is with intention. I name my chapter From Pain to Purpose. So I live with pain every day, and I wanted to, I've found my purpose in end of life planning and education and being a grief doula. So it came, because I know Lisa, and then I the next person I reached, I said, Sara, you got, you've been saying you want to write a book, but And she says, well, I want to write and I said, yeah, you can still write your own book, but this would be like I think a great launching pad.
I love that. I love the elbow. Hey, write this with me. And I like that it's already a community starting with Lisa, starting with the idea and then inviting you in, and that we're championing each other and also encouraging each other to share our stories and move along and do things that are out of our comfort zone. Because Lesley, before we started this show today, you said, well, I'm not really the one who's going to be the one who says, look at me, you're a hidden gem. But people really need to hear your story and hear from you. So good for you for doing this. And so what's the reaction been so far, Sara, when you meet people and talk about the book? You just raced in from an author event in Doha where you're talking about your journey as an author. What was the reaction tonight? Because it's nighttime where she is. So
yeah, it is, hence my glass of wine. I'm allowed. It's 9:00. So it was really interesting because we had 3 authors, one who wrote children's book, one who wrote a book about positivity in the workplace, and myself. So mine was a memoir, really, and it was everybody just kept saying, you are so brave, and they just kept saying, I just can't believe you're willing to share the story. I can't believe you are doing this and share the story. And what was really interesting for me was, you don't ever think it's brave, you think it's necessary. For me, it was a journey to go on. And one of the things I always say is that what I realized is that the minutia and the details of what happened really didn't matter. It's actually who I became, what I learned, what I learned through it, and what I want to pass on. And that was the big thing that I wanted to resonate tonight. And people, instantly, as Lesley said, every story is different but the same, in the sense that you've been through something, you've come out the other end, you're standing tall, and you go, yeah, it was a journey. But being able to share that, and what's really interesting is being able to share it in a room of people of such diversity that we had tonight. I mean, one of the authors, her book was in Arabic, and actually, very excitingly, I offered to not translate it, by the way, from Arabic, but she's going to get it into English, and I'm going to do the leadership slant on it to make sure that it reads right, because I'm such a nerd and I read so many books, leadership books. So, and I probably will call on you to help out. But it was just such a community of people, literally from Bosnia, from Saudi, grew up in Palestine, and Canadians and Americans and English people, and to have that diversity in a group. And share something that is really personal. It really felt like this instant community, which is something that's been really important to me, and it's been difficult in a completely foreign world to meet some people that you have that connection with. So it's like we always say, once you start telling your journey and your story, you connect with people. And I walked out of there going, I've got new best friends. No, Lesley, I don't. They're not. but I've been invited to someone's home for dinner, and I'm just so excited. She's like, and to me, that people just being able to share how they feel with me, and you think, wow, this is resonating with people. So it's been super exciting. I had Lesley helped me get a package of books over here. Like, it literally went from here to London to France. My partner brought them over here. It was all just crazy, and they all went tonight, which was really exciting. So that was quite fun. Signing my book.
Bravo. Yeah, so many things that I'd love to unpack in there. But Lesley, I'm going to ask you the same question. What's been the reaction when you've been out talking about your book, doing different things? What's the reaction that you've heard?
Well, it's been really positive. I'm humbled to be part of this writing, and I will just say, there were so many women that wanted to share their stories. So Lisa Pinnock, the lead author, and I'll just, kudos to the other, I'm sorry, it's backwards here. Let me come over here.
Not backwards.
We can all do it. There you go. Hang on.
There's a volume 2. And so ours is the turquoise one, volume 1. There's 20, and then there's a different one. So if you go on, I am, it is available everywhere, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Chapters Indigo. Yes, it's a selfless plug, but it's just, there were so many different stories. She was looking for 20 women and she had 40. So, hence the volumes. But it has been really positive. People who didn't, Lesley, wow, I had no idea that you were struggling with this. And, thank you for sharing, right? And, if I can help one person, I'm an advocate for people living with chronic illnesses, invisible illnesses, rare diseases. And, next month is February 28th is Rare Disease Awareness Day. And I'm really trying to advocate for that. I'm going to be sending an email to people who I know to we need a doodle, like a Google doodle of Rare Disease Day, February 28th. That's the date. And so hopefully that's my goal, to help people spread the word and create awareness.
Because that's the thing, we don't know what we don't know. And when we think that, oh, well, everyone knows this, or nobody knows this, or who am I to be the one that actually puts it out into the world and shares that? It's like, people need to know. And then you gather community around you. And so, Sara, yes, having new best friends because of this experience, and then gathering around saying, yes, can you help me? And it's really about how we are of service over and over and over again. It's when you tell your stories, other people know how to help you and how you can help them, essentially. Is all of us who are very giving, we won't always help other people. But Sara, now you're going to help somebody with their book, which is amazing. And Lesley, for people to be able to talk about all these disabilities or challenges or whatever level it is in their lives, to be able to share that and to know I'm not alone. I think that's one of the foundational pieces of life.
Exactly. You are not alone. And, find your lantern bearers. That was the message. And thank you, Sara, because I don't know if you can see. Anyway, she gifted me a lovely lantern, a black lantern, to add to my collection. But the concept of lantern bearers, if I may, that's really what this conversation is about. It's about your community, your support people. Who are your people? Who are your, who do you lean into, lean on? Yes, Sara is my social, like, uplifting. Oh my gosh, come and do this with me. Yes, okay. I just have to plan because my energy level isn't quite where Sara's is. But you have your lantern bearers, who are your empaths, who are your grief buddies, your specialists. So that's what my chapter is about. Everything I do is do with intention. And it was kind of the thing on, I had a cousin who was a torchbearer at the Olympics when it was in my city of Markham many years ago. And then, of course, we have pallbearers at a funeral. So I thought, you know what? Who helps me uncover my light when I'm in my darkest days? Right? And living with a chronic illness, there are some ups and downs. There's waves of grief, and that's what I want to share.
And we'll unpack a little bit more. I want to say shout out from George Curleigh. Yay, Sara and Lesley. So great to see you both still connected and working together, a lifelong friendship. Sara's big brother. And it's so great that when our big brothers will come and celebrate us and champion us, and then our best friends are on the call too. Like, what a great thing to have community and family and those people who want to take that journey with us along our lives. And even if it's just for a few minutes, then other people, it's for that lifetime of experience. So George, thanks, big bro, for joining us. And if you have questions or want to know anything more about Sara and Lesley and all their experiences, first of all as authors, and then also in the professional capacity, with Lesley being what is really a new field in the modern sense. I'm sure it was a long time ago what we'd have these people as part of our community, and then we forgot as we maybe commercialized things, and it didn't quite fit into how we talk about things often in the West. So, but a death doula and all the things that she talks about, and then Sara, how to be the best leader that you can possibly be and grow into being even a better leader through her teaching. So if you have questions about those very diverse, but actually still the human journey conversations, so join us, and I'll read off your comment from the chat. So Sara, when you are out, how does this all relate back to your leadership skills, or does it, when you've done the book? Is it a side thing and it doesn't really relate, or does it lean into all of your lovely teaching?
It completely leans in, and actually, again, there's a couple of hats that you have on when you do something like this, I think, for me, definitely. And it's I work so much with people on resilience, and so it was really nice to be able to say, hey, this is something that I'm also working on. And people that have known me for years, when it was all happening, I'm like, oh, my book's launching next week, and what book? Oh, on resilience. And actually it adds to that credibility piece. But I think what's interesting for a lot of the people I work with, who have since bought a copy, have said, wow, Sara, you had this thing going on, and throughout the whole time, you were this professional person who didn't tell us anything that was going on. And, we did say, and there's a bit in the book where I say, people just went, Sara, you're teaching resilient, but your life looks so perfect, and everything's fine in your world. And, so can you really be an expert on this? And do you really, and not in a derogatory way, but, and I just thought, deep breath, and it wasn't the place to share, nor did I need to share or want to share, but it's like, you just don't know. Just like Lesley said, you have no idea those hidden things that are going on for people. But that energy you get from people, the joy I get from when I have someone on a workshop saying, wow, that resonated with me. You lit a light bulb for me. You changed the way I think. And really full circle. Most of my clients come back from, one big client where everybody left, and well, not everybody left. People leave and come and then say, I'm here now. You did this for me 10 years ago. And this is what you worked with me on presentation skills or storytelling or strategic thinking. And it's so interesting that people look and say, okay, this does lead really nicely. And I talk about storytelling, and then I'm like, well, here's my story. And it is quite, it is putting myself a bit out there and being transparent to share this story. But on the other hand, it's just part of me. It's one, it doesn't define me, right? It's, something that's gone on in my life, and we all have chapters, and we have chapters that are positive and negative, but you take things from them and you get to have another chapter. And here I am in Doha with a brand new chapter. So, it fits really nicely. And it's a nice in when I'm talking to people about, I have this background and I've written a story and I've chosen to share it. So
it shows so much. Sorry?
It's helpful. It's really nice credibility piece, really.
Oh, absolutely. I think too, it shows, first of all, let's say what is resilience for people? It's that you're a bit able to, when you fall back, to not to fall forward, to move forward too. So when you talk about resilience, is that how you define it?
Yeah, I often say it's not about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward, right? You come back and you're still standing, because people can be resilient. How many people go on, I got through that crazy period of work and go on holiday and are sick, right? That's the carnage. So we might think we're resilient in the moment, but what's the carnage afterwards? And how do you look after yourself? And I'm not saying I always get it 100% right. But what I know is I've learned from that. And I know the little things. I mean, I have this happy drawer where, I had all my essential oils that Lesley kickstarted me off on, and, and my corkscrew and a few other essentials. But those things that help you in the moment. And I always say, there's the big picture resilient things, the sleeping, the breathing, for me, the yoga, the friendships, all of that. And then there's the very micro resilient, granular, in the moment. What can I do? And often it's, picking up the phone to someone like Lesley or you. I mean, you and I have these conversations and we're just both bouncing off the walls by the end of it, which is so lovely. Or I have a few favorite songs of mine that I put on just to get me going, or put me in the mood. And I think, so to me, resilience is the big picture, the micro resilience, and just how do you, it's about, it's not about enduring. It's about recharging, refreshing, and looking after yourself. And I think that's one of the big things. It's not, I got through it, but, I'm about to crumble, right?
Yeah, and I love your point about that we're always writing new chapters. Sometimes we have to write a new book, and we move on from that. And that's part of who we are, and we learn these great lessons from it. Now, the journalist in me would be saying, so Sara, tell the audience all about your story. And I'm sure people who are listening are wondering, how come I haven't asked you, well, what is that story that's in this book? Well, the reason is that we actually want you to go and buy the book. So we're not going to tell you the story, the whole story. It's a tease for you to buy the book for sure and find out what Sara had resilience and how she's able to move forward and to really, light up the life for other people for sure. So if you're watching on LinkedIn Live, we'd love you to join in the conversation. Let us know. Ask some questions of Sara about leadership, and Lesley some understanding questions about what a death doula is, and her chapter in the book to uncover your light, empowering stories of hope and resilience. Here, they're both co-authors in this book, because we'd love to have you join in and interact with us on this medium for sure. Now, Lesley, always on Bragging Rights, I want people to, brag about themselves, because I believe that bragging is actually a really good thing. And bragging, as I define it, is shine and shimmer. It's talking about ourselves with pride. And I think pride is a good thing. I think we need a little bit more, some of us need a little bit more pride in the world. Actually, a lot of us. There's just a few that probably don't need anymore. We don't have enough that we share our light with others. And so originally was shine and shimmer. And that's in my book too. But it's about how do we talk about ourselves and talk about successes. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I want you to tell me something that you've been about that's a success of yours that I want you to brag. I'm going to make you brag right here and now.
What I'm going to say is not going to be maybe appealing to other people, but I really do walk the talk, right? I am deep. The past year and a half or 2 years, I've been really reflecting on my own end of life planning. So I've pre-planned and prepaid my funeral. I'm halfway paid off. I've had conversations about my advanced care plan with my adult children, what I want, what I don't, where I hope to pass. There will be Bob Marley playing at my celebration of life. I'm, raised, I'll be the first person of my ancestors that will be cremated. I was a pallbearer at my grandmother's funeral, and I've made arrangements at the cemetery to join her when my time comes. This is not conversations that people normally have, right? It is, it's like people, it's kind of like Dr. Ruth, the sex talk, it's like makes you uncomfortable, but, really, I've seen what happens when people don't have the conversations on their darkest days, and there could be family conflicts. People don't know. It just creates a lot of regret and tension on top of all the grief that people are experiencing. So, you know what? I'm not good. My great grandmother lived to 103. My grandmother, Miss Ivy, lived to 100. My dad's 91. I'm very blessed. My mom's 81. I'm not planning to go anywhere soon. But you know what? I don't have a spouse. I don't have a partner. I'm making it clear so everybody knows I've updated my will and powers of attorney for the 3rd time. So yes, that's what I'm bragging about.
But I love that. I think that's a great one. It's different, but it's owning your journey, which is a theme a lot of people have. It's just how you articulate it and express it. Owning your own journey is what you're saying, and you're owning it right to the very end. And I don't think that people think about owning. We think, Sara and a lot of people that we coach, it's like, well, what am I thinking about the next 6 months, next year, 5 years, 10 years of my career? But you're owning your journey to the very end. So kudos to you. Just such a great thing. And you can definitely contact Lesley to find out more about all of that journey and how do you have those conversations with people about what you want for your own, next leg or far future leg. What do you want and what do they want too? So I think that's really good thing. Sara, same question back to you. Really tell us one thing that you're really proud of. What is a shine and shimmer moment or experience for you that you'd love to share with the audience, and something that you don't always share?
Right. So you're going to be mad at me because I'm doing something I just want to add something about Lesley. And I know you're asking me, but I just want to say this first, because during COVID, I was in the UK. Nobody could travel anywhere, and Canada was really shut down. My mom's in Nova Scotia. My brothers are in Nashville, Vancouver. And, I literally, my thought was, if anything happens to my mom, it'll be Lesley I'm sending. And this is, she will be the one that I would ever want to not replace me, but to support me, even if my mom just got sick, or and it was so nice to know that there was someone there that had that right attitude towards that and working with me. So she's still working on me to get my stuff done. But back to your question about pride, it's such a good question, because in leadership, I always say start with pride. When you're trying to get your team together, and you're saying to them, how do you start a meeting? Say, what are you proud of that you did this week? people don't talk about that. They're like, and often people say, I'm proud of my kids, or, and I'm like, no, but what have you done? Like, you tell us, be your own biggest cheerleader. And so it's one of the things I say as a leader, start with pride and be vulnerable first, right? Share what you're proud of, and why that's important. And for me, when I start thinking about that, I think you go to so many different ways, but I was reflecting on this question last night because I knew you were going to ask me.
Because I do.
Because you, and your last name is Bragg. And I was saying, to so many people, me moving here just seemed like a really obvious, like, oh, well, that's Sara. She just picks up and goes. It was tough. It was hard. It was, a world I knew nothing about. Someone who's never been defined by a marriage or a partner. Suddenly I'm following somebody. I'm going. My daughter was really, she was the one who said, Mom, can we go? It would be great. And had a chat with her about it's not running away. It's going to something new. And she did all of her research, and I was so proud of her. But I'm going to admit, I teach this stuff. I know how to manage change, but managing a transition is a very different thing. And it was tough and uplifting, an amazing community I'd had for 17 years, and my work was on fire, and to just move somewhere where you have no idea. There is a lot of bureaucracy here, and I held that positive. Hey, there's going to be World Cup, but it was really tough. And then there was suddenly that moment where I went, I'm here. This is me now. I'm at home with this. And to have gotten through that transition of arriving in 50-degree heat and getting a child in school and just all of that, which from the outside looks easy, it was not easy. It was a tough move. It was tough, not because Thomas wasn't amazing and wonderful, but because it was a whole different world. I was, now back to being a little fish in a big pond of one that I'd never really been to before. And you don't know the rules and regulations and how things work and what you can say and not say. And so suddenly I'm having to be a little bit not me. And I then realized I needed to be me again, right? So like literally day one, went and, okay, how do I get at it? Is there a WhatsApp group here? How do I meet people? Right? So that lasted about half an hour, but it was tough. And I didn't show that it was tough to anybody because I just had to, but I really disconnected from all my friends to say, I have to plant myself here. And Thomas kept saying, do you want to go home and visit people? I'm like, no, I'm here. I'm going to make this work, and this is what I need to do, and I focused on that. But it was tough, and I am so happy, and we're it's just a great move, and we've made such wonderful friends and a great community here. But it's not been easy, and so it's jumping into the unknown massively, and when I look back, I think, wow, how did I not prepare myself for that, right? Because it was massive, but exciting.
There's that resilience calling. I think that sounded like resilience. We're going to wrap up soon, but what I wanted to, and you can't do each other because this is, it's going to be so easy. And so what I always ask too is that, it's when you ask people to brag and talk about their success and talk about, self-promotion, because my book is called Bragging Rights, How to Talk About Your Work Using Purposeful Self-Promotion. It's coming out in May. But when I talk about it, people are always think, oh, it's about me, me, me. And really my work is about, yes, it's about you, but it's also about how you serve. And then when we know how each other serves, then we can also partner and then champion each other. And we're seeing some great examples of women championing each other, and different allies coming in too. We've seen a lot of women celebrating each other's success lately. So it doesn't have to be a woman or a man. It can be anyone at all on any spectrum. But I'd like to hear from you, both of you, somebody that you'd like to champion and give a shout out, a kudos that they're doing something pretty special in the world. So Lesley, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you, who would you like to champion? What are they doing that's so special?
Yeah, I do have someone. Unfortunately, she's not on LinkedIn, but she's on mostly every other platform. And her name is Jill Battle. It's almost interesting that her last name has the word battle in it. She also has Addison's disease. Sadly, her father died from Addison's disease, but she is a true champion. She has a podcast called the Pickle Jar Podcast. Because we crave salt, and most Addison people with primary adrenal insufficiency, we're eating pickles, except for me because I don't like pickles. But Team Addison, she is an ambassador for Team Addison on Facebook. Chronically Fit, she's a personal trainer. She brings health and wellness and fitness, and she's actually also written a chapter in a book called Transforming Pain to Purpose. So my shout out to Jill Battle, Battle, and follow her Pickle Jar podcast if you want to, she's all about creating awareness for Addison's disease. And she did interview me, and I do want to say, sorry, I've got fibrofag. Anyway, Jill Battle, but there was something I was going to say about her, but she's just, you know what? Because Sara and I, sadly, both are, and I hope you're okay with me sharing this, Sara, our youngest child has type 1 diabetes. Jill is trialing, or has been for a long time, using the insulin pump to hold the cortisol. I take mine orally, but she's using the insulin pump, and instead of insulin, she's putting Solu-Cortef in there, and she's so fit and active. So she's my hero of right now.
And you know what, Lesley, I'm going to make you put a little comment, a shout out to her for people to follow her, even though she's not on LinkedIn. We can put that in the chat once we've wrapped up. So Sara, same thing over to you. Who would you like to champion out in the world that is really somebody that maybe a hidden gem, or maybe already on the national, international stage, that you think really deserves some more kudos and somebody to champion and shine the light on them?
So the woman that invited me to speak tonight, Elspeth Blankenhorst-Tam, she's a Dutch woman who's been here in Qatar for a long time, and she started Global Women at Work. And she is a real champion of women in businesses, but particularly understands that almost every woman that comes here, especially if you're the trailing spouse idea, has had to pivot their career. And so she's really about supporting to go, I'm there to help you, I'm there to connect you. I mean, she's like the biggest connector ever. She started this series Career by Her. This was the inaugural event night. And every month there'll be different careers to showcase. And, she was one of the first people I met. She was doing a Shoes for Dreams and a charity of getting anybody's shoes from anywhere to help with people that lived here that were without clothing and shoes and things, and so I said, I'll do it for the compound. And she came by literally as Thomas arrived off the plane with my hard book and the hard copy of the book the first time I touched it. And I was like, I was in my nightgown. I'm like, oh my God, it's my book. So she was the first person to have it, and and has been a champion and talking about it and inviting me to this event. So, but it's not just me. Like, she's touched every professional woman here in Qatar, I think. Really has done an amazing job. She's also writing a book right now, just looking at stories of women who've pivoted their careers. So I will put that in, and she really wants to talk to anybody that's had to do that. But really just someone who's always there for a coffee or for me to ask a question. But I'm one of every other woman in Doha that is connected with her that she's done that for, which is just an amazing generosity. And like we say, it's that abundance theory, right? It's keep giving, keep passing.
Yeah, give, take. But she's helping you write your next chapter, which is such a great gift. And so I want to thank you both for joining me. I want to just read a little bit of the blurb, though, off the back of Uncover Your Light, because I think it's really important. It's available everywhere. So go to Amazon, go to any of your favorite bookseller, and find the book Uncover Your Light. We'll put the link to it in Amazon. You can buy it from wherever you want, though. But Uncover Your Light explores the concept of how to shine brightly when you've lost touch with who you are. Whether you are struggling with a life transition, personal upheaval, or gradual detachment over time, the question is, how do you begin to find your true self again? Would you even know her if you bumped into the real you? Wow, that's great. And so many great stories from several different authors in here, especially you're going to want to definitely turn right away to find Lesley's story and Sara's story in the book here. Now, Lesley, you also have something that people can get for free to find out a little bit more about, death doula and the offerings that you have. Tell us a little bit about where they can go, and we'll put the link in the chat too afterwards.
Sure. Thank you, Lisa. And Lisa Bragg, and I can't wait to buy your book, Bragging Rights, in May when it's out. And I don't know if it's got a bit blurry, but I will have a free downloadable PDF. My core values are love, wisdom, and comfort, and that's what I bring to my work at Last Wishes Consulting. So I'm going to put a free PDF in my link tree, and the link will be on here, and you can download that. And just highlighting some of the lantern bearers that have supported me in my journey. Thank you.
Sara, is there a call to action you want besides buy your book? Is that follow Sara?
Well, yeah, no, I actually, my call to action is, anybody that knows anybody out here in the Middle East, which has worked, and I'd love to connect with people that have moved out here, whether it's in the field of learning and development, facilitation, storytelling, or whether it's someone who's, starting a career here, or, wants to meet. I mean, to me, this community is small but big. Right. So I think it's wonderful. So would love to be able to meet up with more people and connect with more people and share learnings from being here.
Oh, it's always how we can share, right? So thank you both so much for being with me on my second show. It was great. Less technical problems, but show off the book again. I'll have more episodes, of the Bragging Rights coming up soon, as I almost just knocked the whole computer off the stand. There has to be one thing. So yes, I'll put it up there you go. And we'll put the link in there. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Bye, Sara.